Have you ever found yourself staring at your phone, replaying the last message he sent, wondering why everything suddenly went quiet? 1 minute, he's warm, attentive, fully present, and the next, it feels like he's vanished into thin air. No fight, no warning, no explanation, just silence. But here's the twist. Most people don't realize his silence isn't empty. It's full of thoughts, full of emotion, and often full of you. Today, I want to pull back the curtain on something rarely talked about honestly. Because when a man goes silent, most women assume the worst. He lost interest. He's moving on. He's talking to someone else. But what if that silence was actually the opposite? What if that distance was coming from a place of intensity, not indifference? What if the real reason he's pulling away is because he feels more than he knows how to handle? In this video, we're diving into the unspoken mental highway most men never admit they're traveling. You're going to discover why his quiet moments are not rejection signals, but emotional processing signals. You'll learn the hidden fears he's wrestling with, the attraction he's trying to navigate, and the internal conflict between wanting closeness and needing control. By the end of this, you won't be guessing. You won't be overthinking. You'll see clearly what's happening behind that silence, and more importantly, what it truly means about his feelings for you. Because silence can be confusing, but silence can also be revealing. And today you're going to learn how to read it like a language of its own. So settle in, because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you understand the man in your life. When a man goes quiet, even though he clearly cares, it creates one of the most confusing emotional experiences for a woman. Everything seems to be going well. You feel the connection, the chemistry, the energy, and then suddenly he slows down or retreats into his own world. What most people don't realize is that this quietness is rarely about losing interest. More often, it's because the feelings he has for you are stronger than he expected, and he needs space to understand what they mean. Men are wired to process emotions differently. Instead of talking through their feelings immediately, they often withdraw to make sense of what's happening inside. It's not because they don't care. It's because they care so much that they're afraid of mishandling the situation. For many men, growing emotional intensity triggers both excitement and fear at the same time. And when those two collide, silence becomes the safest place to sort through it. During these quiet moments, he might be thinking about the future, wondering if he's ready for a deeper connection, or questioning whether he can meet your expectations. He may even be replaying your conversations, analyzing his own reactions, or trying to figure out what he truly wants. Men often feel pressure to appear confident, controlled, and sure of themselves. So when strong feelings hit unexpectedly, it can shake that inner stability. And instead of expressing doubt or vulnerability, they go silent. His withdrawal doesn't mean he wants distance from you. It means he needs distance from the pressure of his own emotions. The silence is a breather, not a breakup. It's his way of regrouping before re-engaging. Many men feel they must have clarity before they take the next step, especially with someone they genuinely like. They don't want to make promises they can't keep or say something in the heat of emotion they'll later regret. So when he goes quiet, it's not a sign of disinterest. It's a sign he's thinking, processing, and trying to understand the depth of what he's feeling. And often his return is stronger, more intentional, and more emotionally open than before. His silence isn't him pulling away from the connection. It's him preparing to lean in with more clarity and purpose. When a man goes silent, it can feel like he's shutting a door you were just beginning to open together. But the truth is, his silence often reveals more about his feelings than his words ever could. Men aren't always verbal about what's going on inside, especially when their emotions start growing quickly and unexpectedly. Instead, they shift into observation mode. They pull back, not to escape you, but to monitor their own reactions. His quiet moments are often when he's feeling the most. You can tell a lot about what's happening in his heart by the way he behaves in the silence. For example, he may not be talking, but he keeps watching what you do. He notices your tone, your responses, and the way you show up even when he's not fully present. This isn't because he's testing you. He's trying to understand if the connection he's feeling is real, reciprocal, and safe. Silence becomes his emotional magnifying glass. Another hidden sign lies in how his energy shifts when he returns. A man who doesn't care comes back unchanged, flat, disconnected, or indifferent. But a man who cares deeply returns more intentionally, more attuned, and more consistent. The silence gave him space to sort through the intensity, and what you see afterward is clarity. His re-engagement isn't random, it's the result of long internal conversations he had with himself. His silence also reveals fear, fear of losing control, fear of being vulnerable, fear of wanting you more than he expected. These fears don't mean something is wrong, they mean something real is happening. When a man feels safe with you, the silence becomes shorter. When he's overwhelmed by how much he likes you, he retreats longer, but always comes back with more emotional presence. And then there's the subtle shift in how he communicates afterward. He may not confess everything, but you'll notice a softness in his voice, a deeper interest in your day, a more protective tone, or small acts of affection he didn't show before. These are not coincidences. They are emotional confirmations he can't say out loud yet. So while silence might feel like distance, it's often the moment he's feeling the most intensely. His quietness is not emptiness, it's processing, transforming, and anchoring the feelings he's not ready to reveal verbally. But his actions before, during, and after the silence tell the real story. He feels, and he feels deeply. Emotional withdrawal can feel like an abrupt shift, almost as if he unplugged from the connection without warning. But behind that sudden quietness is a complex psychological pattern many men experience, one that has less to do with you, and far more to do with how they process emotion, stress, and vulnerability. When feelings start developing faster than their internal comfort zone can handle, they instinctively step back to recalibrate. Unlike women, who often find relief through talking, men are conditioned socially and emotionally to retreat inward. From a young age, many are taught that expressing deeper emotions makes them appear weak or unstable. So even as adults, when they feel something powerful, their first instinct is to contain it rather than communicate it. Emotional withdrawal isn't about shutting you out, it's about protecting themselves from feeling overwhelmed. Inside that withdrawal is a battle between two impulses, the desire to connect and the need to maintain emotional control. When he realizes how much he cares, it challenges his sense of independence. Suddenly, he's aware that someone else has the power to affect his mood, his thoughts, and even his long-term decisions. That awareness can be thrilling, but it can also spark anxiety. Withdrawal becomes his way of regaining balance before the feelings push him further than he's prepared to go. Another psychological layer behind his withdrawal is fear, fear of getting hurt, fear of choosing wrong, fear of giving too much too soon. These fears aren't always conscious. Sometimes he's not fully aware of why he's backing up. He just feels an emotional pressure building inside and instinctively takes space. In that space, he sorts through questions he doesn't want to ask out loud. Is this real? Am I ready? Can I handle this? What if I mess it up? During emotional withdrawal, a man becomes hyper-aware of his actions. He may avoid reaching out not because he wants distance, but because he's trying to avoid saying or doing something impulsive. He's not pulling away from you, he's pulling away from his own intensity. When he finally re-emerges from that internal pause, it's usually with more clarity, more intention, and more emotional steadiness. Withdrawal isn't emotional abandonment, it's emotional regulation. It's his way of getting his heart and mind aligned before stepping forward again with confidence instead of confusion. One of the most surprising things about a man who's constantly thinking about you is that he rarely says it out loud. Instead, it shows up in small, subtle behaviors that reveal far more than any direct confession ever could. You may not hear the words, but you'll feel the shift in the way he moves around you, reaches out to you, and responds to even the smallest parts of your life. One of the clearest signs is consistency, even in the quiet moments. If he sends a quick check-in message, reacts to something you posted, or finds tiny excuses to start conversations, it means you're on his mind more often than he wants to admit. Men don't invest time into things they don't care about. If he keeps the thread alive, even minimally, it's because he doesn't want the connection to fade. Another sign is his attention to the details you barely remember sharing. Maybe you mentioned a stressful meeting, a favorite snack, a family event, or something simple about your day, and he brings it up later. This isn't casual memory, this is emotional bookmarking. When a man thinks about you often, He stores little pieces of your world because he's making room for you in his mind. You'll also notice the way his energy shifts when you're around. He may seem nervous, more focused, or unusually attentive. Sometimes he gets quiet, not from disinterest, but because he's trying to manage the excitement and tension he feels around you. A man who's thinking about you constantly struggles to act normal because nothing about his feelings feels casual anymore. Then there's the protective instinct. He may offer help without being asked, check in when you seem off, or show subtle concern when something affects you. This instinct kicks in only when a man feels emotionally invested. It's not about control, it's about care, connection, and the silent desire to be someone you rely on. You might also catch him watching you when he thinks you're not looking, or he'll bring up future scenarios that casually include you. These small future-oriented comments reveal that you're not just in his thoughts, you're in his plans, even if he hasn't fully understood why yet. A man who's thinking about you constantly doesn't just say it, he shows it in micro moments, emotional signals and behaviors he can't hide. And once you know how to read them, the truth becomes undeniable. Mixed signals are one of the most frustrating patterns to experience, especially when you know there's genuine chemistry. One moment he's all in, warm, affectionate, responsive, and then suddenly he becomes distant, inconsistent, or hard to read. It's tempting to assume he's playing games, but mixed signals often reveal deep internal conflict rather than manipulation. When a man sends mixed signals, it's usually because two parts of him want different things at the same time. On one side, he feels drawn to you. He enjoys the connection, the attraction, the emotional comfort you bring. You become a place where he feels energized and understood, and that pulls him closer almost automatically. This is the side that makes him text first, show interest, flirt, share personal things, or make future-oriented comments. It's the natural reaction of a man who genuinely cares, but on the other side, he's overwhelmed. Strong emotions stir up uncertainty, fear, or the sudden awareness that he could get hurt or hurt you if he doesn't know what he wants yet. That fear makes him pull back, hesitate, or act like he's unsure. These mixed moments aren't about lack of interest. They're about emotional overstimulation. He's trying to find balance between desire and self-protection. Mixed signals can also come from timing issues. Maybe he's dealing with stress, responsibilities, past heartbreak, or unresolved feelings from old relationships. When someone hasn't fully healed, even positive emotions can feel threatening. The closer he gets to you, the more old fears get triggered. So he steps back without even realizing why. You can also see mixed signals when a man is afraid of losing control. Strong feelings make him vulnerable, and vulnerability is something many men were never taught to handle. So he pushes forward when he feels safe and retreats when he feels too exposed. But here's the truth, mixed signals themselves are a signal. They show he feels something real. Indifference is simple. Emotional conflict is complicated, and men only experience emotional conflict when the connection matters. The key is to observe how he shows up after the retreat. A man who comes back with intention, clarity, or effort isn't confused about you. He's simply learning how to navigate emotions. He wasn't prepared to feel. Mixed signals aren't proof he doesn't care. They're proof he cares more deeply than he's comfortable admitting. When he starts pulling back or becoming quieter, the instinctive reaction is to close the gap, reach out more, reassure him, initiate conversations, or try to bring the connection back to where it felt stable. But responding from fear almost always creates the opposite effect. The key to navigating his distance without chasing is to shift from reaction to intention. Instead of trying to pull him closer, you ground yourself so he naturally gravitates back to you. The first step is emotional self-regulation. Before you text, call, or check in, ask yourself, am I doing this because I feel anxious or because I genuinely want to communicate? When your actions come from anxiety, he feels the pressure even if you never say it out loud. When you act from calmness, you create space he's comfortable returning to. Instead of chasing, focus on maintaining your rhythm. Keep your energy, your plans, your routines, and your joy intact. When a man sees that you remain steady, even when he pauses, it shows emotional maturity, and that steadiness becomes incredibly attractive. He doesn't feel expected to fix anything. He doesn't feel guilty. He doesn't feel cornered. Instead, he sees a woman who respects his emotional pace without disappearing herself. You can still respond, but respond lightly. If he reaches out, match his energy without overextending. Short, warm, grounded replies can be more powerful than long check-ins. They show you're open, but not waiting. Men feel safest with women who allow connection without pressure. Another way to avoid chasing is by creating gentle boundaries. If he pulls away frequently, you can acknowledge the pattern calmly when he returns. Not emotionally charged, not accusatory, just honest. Something like, I value consistency, so I take things at a pace that feels balanced. This communicates your standards without forcing change. Boundaries aren't walls, they're invitations to meet you at the level you deserve. Most importantly, focus on self-value. Chasing comes from fear of losing him. Responding confidently comes from knowing that someone who truly wants a place in your life won't disappear because you didn't beg them to stay. When you respond without chasing, you shift the dynamic. Instead of running after him, you become the steady center he returns to when he's ready. And more often than not, that balanced, grounded energy is exactly what draws him back stronger than before. Staying confident and empowered when someone you care about pulls back is one of the greatest emotional challenges you'll ever navigate. It's easy to start questioning your worth, your desirability, or whether you somehow caused the shift. But true confidence isn't about never feeling doubt. It's about grounding yourself so deeply in your own value that someone else's moment of uncertainty doesn't shake your foundation. One of the most powerful things you can do during this period is reconnect with yourself. Instead of focusing on what he's doing, focus on what you need, what you enjoy, and what brings you fulfillment. Confidence grows naturally when your life is rich, balanced, and full of things that make you feel alive. When your happiness doesn't hinge on his behavior, you stand in your power, not in fear. You stay empowered by remembering that his silence or his distance is not a measurement of your worth. It's a reflection of his internal process, his emotional rhythms, and his personal struggles. Confidence comes from knowing that you are not responsible for managing his feelings or stabilizing his emotions. You can care for him without carrying him. Another key part of empowerment is maintaining emotional boundaries. Don't adjust your standards to fit his inconsistency. Don't shrink your needs to keep the peace. And don't make yourself smaller just to accommodate the confusion he's working through. High-value confidence means you can be understanding while still honoring what you deserve. You also stay empowered by embracing the truth that someone who is meant for you will rise to meet you. Confidence is recognizing that the right man won't require you to chase, convince, or negotiate for basic attention. Empowerment is the courage to let someone go if they consistently make you question your value. Most importantly, staying confident means trusting yourself, not the version of yourself that worries or overthinks, but the version of you that knows you are strong, capable, loving, and worthy of a healthy connection. It means reminding yourself that you are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing. You are evaluating whether this person fits into the life you are building. When you move from this grounded, empowered energy, everything shifts. You stop reacting. You stop doubting. You stop chasing. Instead, you stand tall, steady, and self-assured, creating a magnetic presence that draws in people who appreciate your strength and understand your worth. Turning silence into a deeper connection begins with understanding that quiet moments don't have to signal distance. They can create the space where genuine closeness is formed. When a man goes silent, it often feels like a wall is going up. But silence isn't the enemy. Silence is the environment where clarity, emotional processing, and personal truth start to take shape. And when you handle these moments with emotional intelligence, you transform silence from a barrier into a bridge. The first step is not to rush to fill the gap. When you resist the urge to demand answers or reassurance, you send a powerful message. You trust yourself, you trust the connection, and you trust that the relationship doesn't need constant noise to stay alive. This calmness allows him to navigate his internal processes without feeling rushed. Instead of experiencing pressure, he feels safety, and safety deepens attachment more than words ever could. Silence becomes connection when you continue showing up authentically without overextending. Keep your energy warm, steady, and receptive, but not self-sacrificing. When he returns, greet him with openness rather than resentment. This doesn't mean excusing unhealthy patterns. It means recognizing that emotional pacing is different for everyone. Your steadiness reassures him that he can be honest, vulnerable, and imperfect with you. Another way silence deepens connection is by revealing compatibility. The way two people handle emotional pauses says everything about long-term potential. When you can respect his space without abandoning yourself, you demonstrate emotional maturity. When he comes back with honesty and effort, he shows genuine interest. These moments teach both of you how to communicate your needs and rhythms. Use silence as a time to strengthen your inner world. Grow your interests, invest in your well-being, and stay grounded in your identity. When you cultivate a full, confident life outside the relationship, you bring more richness and stability into it. A man feels a deeper connection to someone who is emotionally self-reliant yet lovingly open. Finally, silence becomes meaningful when you allow it to lead to honest conversations. When the moment feels right, talk about pacing, connection, and needs. Not with fear, not with accusation, but with curiosity and calmness. This turns silence from something that creates confusion into something that creates understanding. Real connection isn't created by constant communication. It's created by how two people move through the quiet moments together, emerging stronger, clearer, and more aligned than before. As we wrap up, it's important to remember that silence in a relationship isn't automatically a sign of disinterest. Often, it's a window into a man's inner world, a place where emotions are being processed, fears are being navigated, and feelings for you are growing stronger. Understanding this allows you to approach his quietness with clarity instead of anxiety, and with curiosity instead of judgment. One of the biggest takeaways is that emotional withdrawal is not rejection. Men process feelings differently, and their silence can actually signal care, reflection, and even a deepening attachment. Recognizing this helps you avoid chasing behaviors that can push him away, and instead respond with grounded confidence that naturally draws him closer. Another key lesson is the power of maintaining your own stability. By staying confident, honoring your boundaries, and focusing on your life and happiness, you demonstrate that you are emotionally self-reliant. This creates attraction and encourages him to match your energy, rather than dictating the rhythm of the connection himself. True connection grows when both people feel safe, respected, and free to navigate emotions at their own pace. Finally, silence can be transformed into a deeper connection if approached thoughtfully. Use quiet moments to strengthen your relationship by fostering trust, observing behaviors that reveal feelings, and keeping communication authentic and calm. When you combine patience with self-assuredness, you allow the relationship to grow in alignment, creating a bond that's stronger than it would be if every emotion were rushed or forced. Remember, his silence is not the absence of thought. It's often a reflection of how deeply he's processing you. With awareness, boundaries, and confidence, you can turn those quiet moments into insight, understanding, and ultimately a closer, more meaningful connection.